Management Committee. My name is Marquise Harris-Dawson. I'm the Vice Chair of this committee. I'll be standing in for our permanent chairman, Mr. Jose Huizar of the 14th Council District. We're joined by Mr. Kern Price of the 9th Council District and Mr. Bob Blumenfeld from the San Fernando Valley. We begin our meetings with folks who have submitted cards on multiple items. You are allowed to come to the podium and speak for a total of 2 minutes on whatever mix of items and other issues that are in the jurisdiction of this committee. I'll begin by calling folks' name and asking them to come forward. Ms. Patricia McAllister, Leah Renee Mimsick, Barbara Broidy.
Patricia McAllister, teacher and an advocate to move illegal aliens out of affordable housing and Section 8 housing. Number 6, here it talks about you want to draft an ordinance amending the Los Angeles Municipal Code to allow discretionary approval of farmers markets. I think we need to address these illegal aliens that are standing on the street on Wilshire and Alvarado, 6th Street and Alvarado, all over Los Angeles, selling poisonous food that has not been approved. I got a photo of I took a photo myself of a lady digging into her breast with the tacos on the grill, putting breast milk on the food. Okay, we need to do something about that. So you're talking about farmers markets. I don't have a problem with farmers markets as long as they've been approved and the food is safe. These vendors on the street, these illegals on the street here that you guys are allowing, the police don't stop them, don't say a word to them. They have no licenses, they have no refrigeration, they have nothing like that. And you allow them to stand there and sell that poison and you don't say one word. If the black community did that, the police would be shooting. Why you allow these illegal aliens to do that? You don't allow the farmers market to do that. They have to follow guidelines. So that is, that's indicative of this council. You show favoritism when you think you can get some votes from these illegals and some money under the table. As far as the Planning and Land Use Management Committee is concerned, I think you're not doing your job. We have factories, we have vacant lots all over where you're doing nothing about building affordable housing on it. You just let it sit there. There's one where I used to live. I wrote the city, came to the city asking you to do something. Garbage everywhere, all in a lot, you do nothing. That lot's still there, and that's been 8 years ago. It's still sitting right there. I moved from that community because of that lot. Nasty. I don't live around filth. I don't know what you guys are accustomed to, but I don't live around it. I don't want to walk by filth when I'm paying all this money in Los Angeles. Thank you.
All right. I have Herman. Oh, come on up. Come on.
Hi, my name is Leah Renee Memzik. And how much time do I have plus my general public comment?
You have 2 minutes.
Total with my general public comment?
Yes.
Can you reset this to 2 minutes, please? The answer is no, you're not resetting it? Okay, thank you. All right, my name is Leah Renee Memzik. I'd like to bring to your attention that what you know, which is that each of you have a mandatory duty to comply with the law and the state and U.S. constitutions. Each of you have a public obligation to remove public employees who violate the law and the Coastal Act in the city of Los Angeles. Vince Bertoni was sitting in the back of the room a minute ago. He seems to have gotten up and left. I'm here to enter a comment into the file for the work program, and his reference number is 07-1175. I hope he's in the room. If he's not, as soon as my name was called, he got up and left. If he's here, then he's on record that he heard. The reason it's so important is that he's violating the Coastal Act, and so are the people in the City Council District Bonan's office, and I see them here in the room too. There's a class of developments that require a coastal development permit, and the reason for that is it's hazardous, and you know it, because there's all these documents for it that you've concealed and removed from public record. I have provided for you all of the copies for each one of you in the Plum Committee, plus the clerk and the city attorney, and I'll keep one for myself, so it outlines it here. Here's the map that is the legal map So everybody knows that 283 Trina Way is within the jurisdiction of a coastal bluff. So are about 9 other different properties that are seeking to evade compliance with the law. That's street widening, it's grading, it's public works project, and Councilman Bonan's district and Vince Bertoni are issuing exemptions and just completely evading and eviscerating the Coastal Act. And for all your talk about being environmentalists, this shows that you're not. And it's a very sad day in America when Los Angeles, one of the biggest cities in the nation,
Thank you so much.
deprive people of their
Herman?
rights.
So another rotten day in LA when it comes to Plum. We heard about the allegations how Plum and developers take sides in bribes. Are we not tired of it? Absolutely. Now 5 council people and 1 Janice Hahn, the County Board of Supervisors, are under investigation based on Plum's situation and determination of doing business under the pretense to take money from developers. The Director of Planning and Oral Status Report reflects the ongoing development of bribing and scamming the public policies, work, programs, and operations. And then there's 3 items under the little racist white nigger Herman Jason Wesson, for the record, a.k.a. Herbie. Motion number 4, Wesson and Weezar. Where is Weezar? Why can't he represent his item 180141 for the record? Cultural Heritage Commission, we're under a probe of investigation on Weezar, collection of bribe money from developers. It reflects a negative declaration on the process of planning use and building safety for taking advantage of public interest in the concern of building and development. Then I go to the next item based on that racist little white nigger Herman Jason Wesson, which is item number 8, 17-1430, limited time. Fuck you. Beneficial Plaza in Liberty Park, like we need more parks. Fuck you. We need mixed use to put homeless people in housing.
Thank you. That's your time. All right. Sir, if we could begin the meeting with our items we intend to take on consent. If you could read items number 3 and 4 into the record.
Councilman, item 3 is a motion, Rodriguez Buscaino. It's instructing the Department of Building and Safety Planning and the Fire Department, with the assistance of the CAO, to report back on building permits and the granting of fee waivers to reconstruct homes that were affected by the La Tuña Canyon and Greek wildfires.
Number 4.
Item 4, Councilman, this is a motion, Wes and Weezar. This is an instruction relative to the inclusion of 1828 South Gramercy Place as a historic cultural monument, and for the Planning Department to prepare the application.
All right, we have 1 speaker card on item number 3. Am I reading this right? That's item 6. So no public comment cards on this. If there's no objection, we'll take 3 and 4 on consent.
So those motions will be adopted.
Yes. Excellent. Takes us to item number 8 and number 10. Could you read those into the record?
Item 8, Councilman, this is a report from the Cultural Heritage Commission relative to the inclusion of Beneficial Plaza and Liberty Park as historic cultural monuments in the city. This is Council District 10. And item 9, Councilman.
Item 10, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Item 10, Councilman. This is an appeal by Alan D. Park and his representative. It's a building and safety haul route application for the property located at 2902 through 2958 West Wilshire Boulevard. And and also 2807 through 2851 West Sunset Place and 667 South Hoover Place, or South Hoover Street, rather, in CD10.
Excellent. We can continue both of those items until March 6th, which I believe is our next regular meeting. That moves us to item number 1.
Item 1 is the Director of Planning's weekly report from Mr. Bertoni.
Thank you, chairs and members of the Planning and Land Use Management Committee of the City Council. Just real quick on terms of one item is that one of the things we've been doing over those last few years is expanding our program for neighborhood liaisons. So about a year and a half ago, we started a neighborhood liaison program where we have a dedicated staff member for the first time in the department's history to really work with neighborhood groups as well as neighborhood councils. We've just recently expanded that from 1 to 3. So we now have, instead of having one staffer handling the whole city, we actually have 3. So we have one that's dedicated to the valley, one that's dedicated to the areas that are central and east, and one that are that's dedicated to west and south. And they roughly align with our area planning commission boundaries. So we're excited to expand that program and look forward to more of that in the future. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We'll move to accept the director's report. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. Item number 2.
Item 2, Councilman, this is a communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Ms. Anna Menigian to the South Valley APC.
All right, is our candidate with us today? If so, can you join us? Center table. And just in a minute or two, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you hope to contribute and gain by serving.
I'm honored to be here in your presence. I hope to serve the city of Los Angeles. I love the city. I have 20 years of experience in law, business, and leadership. I serve on the 2 most powerful women's organizations in California, NABO LA and California Women's Law Center. And I hope to adhere to the rule of law, the mayor's goals and objectives, and do everything that's necessary to meet all those goals.
Excellent. Thank you so much. There are no public comment cards. Are there any questions or comments from members? Mr. Blumenfeld.
Just a comment, because my district is 100% pretty much in the South Valley area where you will be, and we had a good chance to have a discussion before this, and I'm excited to have your leadership coming to the South Valley Planning, and wish you good luck and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thanks very much. Likewise, I'm excited for this opportunity, and thank you for all of your service.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Hearing no other comments, we will move to forward this nomination on to the full council. That'll be the order. Thank you so much, and we look forward to working with you.
Thanks very much.
Item number 5.
Item 5, Councilman, this is a city attorney prepared ordinance relative to clarifying historic cultural monument designation criteria and due process notifications.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Ken Bernstein with Department of City Planning and Office of Historic Resources. We are back before you today with final ordinance prepared by the city attorney following direction by this committee back in November for some minor amendments. Those amendments replaced the word forthwith in allowing for an extension of initial consideration of historic designation, replace that with a 10-day time period in which to notify property owners, and there was another minor change adding the phrase the director or before the word commission to allow for mutual consent of extension of time periods. With those 2 changes, the ordinance is before you and ready for recommendation. The ordinance does make procedural changes to the Cultural Heritage Ordinance largely to improve notification of private property owners and to streamline the designation process.
Excellent. Thank you. Questions or comments from members of the committee? I don't see any. There also are no speaker cards on this matter, so I'll move that we approve this. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. Thank you. That takes us to item number 6.
Item 6, council member, this is a city attorney draft ordinance. Again, this relates to farmers markets and a by right process and a discretionary process in the city. And in addition, there's a planning department report with additional recommendations.
Excellent. As you all join us at the table, there is one speaker card. Ms. Rosana Franco, if you could come to the podium. Please do not disrupt the meeting, Mr. Herman. That's your first and last warning.
Good afternoon. My name is Rosanna Franco, and I am a policy associate at the Los Angeles Food Policy Council. The LA Food Policy Council is in support of expanding farmers markets to residential zones in the city of Los Angeles. Farmers markets contribute to our local economy, the health of our communities, and have catalytic impacts on the economic vitality of the broader region. The LA Food Policy Council is a cross-sector organization working to make Southern California a good food region for everyone, where food is healthy, affordable, fair, and sustainable. The LA Food Policy Council was instrumental in the city's trailblazing requirement for all farmers markets to accept EBT via a city ordinance passed in May of 2016. The EBT at Farmers Market Ordinance attests to your leadership in closing the gap in food insecurity by ensuring that all farmers markets in our city provide access to low-income Angelenos who participate in the CalFresh program. Likewise, we appreciate the city's leadership in expanding the areas in which farmers markets can operate.
Thank you so much. That concludes our public comment. We're prepared to hear from staff. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Tom Rothman from the Code Studies Division of the Planning Department. We're here to answer any questions. We've made presentations on this item before. Very quickly, this is an ordinance to liberalize how farmers markets can be established throughout the city, most notably through a by right process as opposed to a discretionary process in non-residential zones, and through a discretionary process in the residential zone so that we can have a hearing. But mostly that it's going to be allowed by right with performance standards in our commercial and agricultural zones.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Questions or comments, Mr. Blumenfeld?
Thank you. Just a comment, because I know we've been back and forth on this, and I really appreciate the work that you guys have done to update this. I'm comfortable with planning's recommendation to allow them up to 9 p.m. I know we went back and forth trying to think of a discretionary mechanism for how to deal with the few farmers market one, which happened to be in my area, which tend to go a little later, and that worked out to, that was more complicated than it's worth. So by moving it up to 9, we handle that issue and create the openness to do it. So thank you for your work on that, and I support this. Thank you.
And that's only 9 p.m. in the non-residential zones.
In the non-residential.
It's remained at 7 p.m. in the residential zones.
Important distinction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Price? Okay. If there's no further comment and there's no speaker comment cards, we will ask that we get your amendments be referred to the city attorney's office.
Yes.
And then we can bring those back to the full LA City Council. All right. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. All right, we're on number 7.
Yes, Councilman. Item 7 is a City Planning Commission report. It's recommendations relative to temporary signs on temporary construction walls surrounding vacant lots, and the Department of Building and Safety also has on file a report with technical modifications.
You up for this one too?
Sure, we're here for that.
Let's
I
do it.
wanted to introduce my colleagues, Erin Coleman and Yi Lu. We've all three worked on both of these ordinances, items 6 and 7. So this ordinance is simply a clarification of an existing program that does allow property owners to allow off-site signage when there's construction going on, and we've made some minor amendments to that to make sure that all of the rules are being followed and that there actually is construction going on site, and to clarify some terms that had been just sort of vague.
Okay.
So that the program's intent is what is being implemented.
Excellent. Anything from you all? Thank you. All right, so I've got 5 public comment speakers. on this, so if you guys can just hang out for a second, because we might need to address some of the things that come up. I have Patrick Frenel, Timothy Alger, Mark Davis. Phil Recht.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Tim Alger, and I'm the new general counsel for General Barricade. We're in this business that's affected by this clarification of the ordinance. Just want to address the issue of the removing operating businesses from this program. It's been an excellent program over the years. Consideration should be given to the benefits of this program. 18 acres of neighborhood cleanup is conducted for every site. And my client currently cares for 360 acres of neighborhoods around the city at a cost of about $500,000 a year. Much of the work that needs to be done in the city is renovation, upgrading existing properties, and it doesn't make sense to remove from the program existing property owners that might be upgrading and modernizing their businesses and only allow the program to be applied to vacant lots and construction from the ground up. So we'd like the committee to consider these important benefits that would be removed from the program. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Phil Recht, also representing General Barricade. The purpose of this proposal, as we understand it, is to prevent signs on construction walls that are not required under the law, or on sites where the construction never takes place. But the proposal goes way beyond that. It bans signs on all lots where there is an operating business, even one that's operating fully legitimately, where the sign fully complies with the law. And since 2007, when this program was first created, there have been numerous instances of fully compliant signs on those locations. And those signs have not only benefited the businesses, it helps them defray the costs of the remodels or reconstruction, but it also benefits the neighborhood by providing graffiti and neighborhood cleanup on a 500-foot radius on a 24/7 basis. This is something the businesses would never do on their own. So we suggest if the goal is really to address these two abuses, all you need to do is to make it clear the signs have to be required by law and the permits expire within 6 months. You do not need to ban signs on all sites around operating businesses.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Mark Davis. I'm here with Gary Schaffner, and we're with Alchemy Media. We're here in support today of the proposed ordinance adjustments. These adjustments will help bolster a successful program and help to curb potential ordinance abuses. I have with me some additional letters of support from property owners, business owners, construction companies that we've worked with in the past, as well as the ad council that helps put up PSAs on some of our construction wall sites. Since the ordinance was adopted, we have been able to partner with vacant lot owners and construction projects to secure these sites, remove trash, and clean graffiti. And since its inception, Alchemy Media has been able to remove approximately 1 million square feet of graffiti. Thank you for your time today. We support the ordinance.
Thank you so much. Barbara Broidy, or Broid. Barbara B. All right. That exhausts our speaker list. And if there are no questions or comments from panel members, which I'm looking to my left, Mr. Blumenfeld.
A couple of questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what are the zones you can take advantage of the program, and why did we choose those particular zones?
It's not, the current program isn't specified in particular zones as much as it is for the types of use. So if there's a business that is undergoing a renovation or construction, the current regulations allow them to go into this program, enter into a program with the Office of Community Beautification to allow off-site signs in return for a program within the immediate vicinity to clean up and abate graffiti and other litter and other types of negative.
So, RAS, if that was to be added, I guess you're saying it wouldn't be added to the zone, it already could be in there?
It was actually not allowed in the, yeah, right, because the RAS zone was added after the program went into effect, so we just wanted to clarify, because there are businesses that go into that residential zone. We do have businesses there, so we were adding that since that was one of the few residential zones that do allow active businesses.
So is that allowed, or does that need the council direction, or is that something the director could interpret to allow it, or is that already interpreted in RAS?
I think we wanted to make sure it was explicitly stated in the ordinance that the RAS zones could take advantage of this community beautification program.
So that's in there. It doesn't need to be added.
It's something that can be done under the current categorical exemption. We could modify it. Is that right?
Could you talk into the mic and tell us who you are, please?
Erin Coleman, Department of City Planning. So it's not currently in the ordinance, but it could be added with an additional categorical exemption.
But is that the kind of thing that we would have to do through the council, or is it something that you guys could do through a director's interpretation at some point?
No, yeah, we would have to write the categorical exemption. We would have to modify the ordinance, and it would have to come back here. But it would be a very simple amendment.
Okay, and if it was added, could it be limited to commercial boulevards or other types of street typology?
Yes, it would be for existing businesses.
Okay. Separate question: who tracks the community beautification or the blight reduction aspect of the ordinance? Like, how do we ensure that we get the city benefits?
There is an office of community beautification that does monitor this program.
So that's tracked. We can
it's
check
not
it.
part of the planning department or even building and safety. It's part of the Department of Public Works.
Is that something that's in our open data, or is that something that we, or you may not know?
I'm not that familiar with how the mechanics of that program works, but there may be a representative from the Office of Community Beautification here today to answer those kind of questions.
Okay, well, I don't want to take us off. I'd like to see that ultimately in our open data portals, and that's something that we should be proud of and be able to monitor, and the public should be able to monitor. But I guess I can pursue that on a separate track. And why did we include the total prohibition on sites that are still open for business during construction?
Because businesses that are currently open are already responsible for litter and graffiti abatement, and that had been one of the main sources of the issues around the loopholes and people abusing the system, that by having a business that is still open yet having a construction wall sort of made it very difficult for our inspectors to monitor the program and to make sure that the actual construction was mandatory and was necessary, and the construction wall was there for public safety. So we wanted to make sure, to be very clear, the entire structure needs to not be open in order to take advantage of the program.
Which is a good thing, although some folks brought up that there could be other ways to do it if you, to minimize the abuse or the unintended consequences. Are there other criteria or standards that we considered besides just the straight out prohibition, or that would make sense? And I really don't know the answer. I'm just.
Are you talking about the issue about the entire structure being closed?
Yes.
Well, we've talked about just, it's a very difficult type of issue, since there could be a large shopping center where just one piece of it is closed. So, there's so many different variables that can go into the issue that we decided that it was the most prudent way to go, that the entire building be closed, and that until the construction, this temporary construction, is complete, that it be able to go into the community beautification program. But unless that is an entire building closed, and that if there was a chance that one of the businesses was still open, well, that business could be responsible for cleaning up the graffiti and litter that would otherwise be handled through the program. It's already the responsibility of the business. So it was kind of like double dipping.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. Other questions or comments? Mr. Price? Mr. Englander? All right. We will continue this item for 2 weeks. But close public comment. Thank you so much, Mr. Englander. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. Thank you all.
Thank you.
That takes us to item number 9.
Item 9, Councilman, this is an appeal by Carrie Height, Nicholas Berger, and Myra Manzanita Neighborhood Coalition. It's a haul route located in CD 13 to export 10,500 cubic yards of earth at 1004 through 1014 North Myra Avenue in CD 13.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Dino Kanawi, Building and Safety. This item was heard on January 30th and approved by the Building and Safety Commission for the export of 10,500 cubic yards. No additional conditions were added at the hearing. We did have 15 special conditions added to this project beyond the 21 general conditions, and we are available to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. I have 8 public comment cards. So if you could just slide a little bit that way, so I can see the clock. I appreciate it, but if you guys can hang tight in case there are questions. Nicholas Berger, Mary Farrell, Serko Kachudorian. You all have 1 minute each. Come on, if I called you, come on up. You don't have to worry about the order.
Hi, and thank you for taking the time to meet with us today. As you can see, our neighbors have taken time out of our day and our jobs to be here because this is an issue we are immensely passionate about. I care deeply about the neighborhood that I live in. Recently, Silver Lake, where this project is, has undergone a series of new developments, both on the residential and retail side, and I'm happy to welcome them into the area. As the neighborhood grows, I understand the pros and cons that come along with it. This project, however, does not fit into that category. I live on Myra Avenue, a street with only 18 lots and 13 total residences. The street is only 24 feet 9 inches wide, and being a 2-lane street with cars parked on both sides, it is nearly impossible to drive through as is. The idea of building a 27-unit apartment building in this tiny corridor could only have been approved if there was no traffic study or environmental impact study done to analyze the impact it would have to both the street and the surrounding neighborhood, and that is exactly the case here. We urge you to please help us do due diligence before this building is approved and built and will make this street completely unlivable and unsafe for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go to our other speakers, I want to make sure that the appellant is the appellant of record present. Serko Kachadorian. You're the appellant?
This is the applicant.
This is the applicant. Okay, so this is the applicant. You get 5 minutes, and we're going to try to track down the appellant. So 5 minutes.
Okay. I would like to briefly state the sequence of events that led to the approval of the whole route by the Board of Building and Safety Commissioners. On August 5, 2015, a historic evaluation report was submitted to the Planning Department showing that there are no buildings of historic significance on the property. On December 19, 2016, the Grading Division of the Department of Building and Safety approved the project Geology and Soils Report. On May 5, 2017, Urban Forestry approved a tree report showing and stating that there are no protected trees on the property and that no protected trees on the neighboring properties will be impacted by the project. On August 24, 2017, the City of Los Angeles Department of City Planning issued a notice of exemption and qualified the project for a Class 32 categorical exemption. In order to qualify for the Class 32 exemption, the project met the requirements of 5 specific conditions. On August 29, 2017, the Department of Transportation sent an interdepartmental memo to the Board of Building and Safety Secretary approving the proposed whole route subject to its conditions. On September 1, 2017, the Bureau of Street Services sent an interdepartmental correspondence to the Board of Building and Safety Commissioners approving the whole route request subject to its conditions. On January 30th, 2018, the Board of Building and Safety Commissioners heard the whole route case of the project and found the project categorically exempt under the CEQA Act and approved the whole route application subject to its conditions. This sequence was stated to show that the City of Los Angeles has a long and clear process for the whole route approval. From the early design phase of the project, we have been very transparent with our neighbors and with Councilman O'Farrell's office. I first contacted Councilman O'Farrell's office on December 14, 2016, then met with a Amy Ablicat from the Councilman's Office on January 24, 2017. I then met with neighbor Brian Rainman on February 15, 2017. Met again with the Councilman's Office on June 7, 2017. I met with neighbor Lindsay Glover on September 2017. And met again with Councilman O'Farrell and sent him an email on September 22, 2017. On December 12, 2017, I sent invitations to all my neighbors on Myra Avenue between Hoover Street and Santa Monica Boulevard for a meeting that was held at the property in one of the units on December 18, 2017. Over 20 neighbors showed up. My architect was there as well. The architect had prepared large renderings and plans, and him and I presented the details of the project and listened to the neighbors' questions and concerns. In response to some of the issues raised in the appeal letter, the appellant stated that parking is already an issue on Myra Avenue. Well, there are currently 2 single-family homes and a triplex on our property. None of them have any parkings on the property. The proposed project will provide parking spaces for all the 27 units, so essentially it will reduce the street parking of 5 units that are currently parking on the street. Regarding the width of Myra Avenue, we will be following the specific conditions of the conditions of approval, which state many conditions, no parking signs. It will be posted in front of the property. Hours of operations are from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. It requires 5 flag attendants. It requires having no more than 1 truck at a time on Myra Avenue, etc. And finally, regarding the utilities and services, in our plan check, we obtained the sign-off from the fire department hydrants and access units. Also, the Bureau of Engineering has determined, the Bureau of Engineering, DWP, and the gas company have determined that sewer, water, electricity, and gas are available to supply the project. We have followed all the city rules. I hope and pray that you will deny the appeal, affirm the categorical exemption, and approve the whole route for item number 9. Thank you.
All right, we have Carrie Height for 5 minutes.
Hello, my name is Carrie Height, and I live in a 1903 Queen Anne Victorian on Manzanita Street in Silver Lake. I represent the Myra Manzanita Coalition. This is a group of residents who oppose this project. This group has doubled in size since the first time I spoke at the last hearing. And I believe it'll grow even more as people learn about this project. I have lived in my home for 16 years. I've spent a great deal of time, money, and energy restoring my home to its original beauty. People are often surprised that it's not registered as a historic home, and many assume that our neighborhood is a historic preservation district, since the great majority of homes are craftsmen's or 20s, 30s, and 40s era bungalows. The neighborhood has changed a lot in the last 16 years. It wasn't such a great neighborhood when I first purchased my home, but I took a chance on a community I hoped would turn itself around. Over the years, I have witnessed other people like myself taking the same chance on this community, and together we have helped shape Silver Lake into the highly desirable neighborhood it is today. The house next to mine is a Craftsman built in 1914, and the house next to theirs is a Spanish-style duplex built in 1925. These are well-maintained, beautiful homes in a neighborhood full of houses that are 100 years old. Similarly, just below our 3 homes on Myra, 92% of those homes are over 100 years old. This is a neighborhood rich in its history. You can only imagine how surprised we were that a 27-unit Irvine-style apartment building with above-ground parking standing 57 feet tall could ever even be considered in such a historic neighborhood. Naturally, we expressed our concern to the City Council office. It was explained to us that our neighborhood was zoned R3 for limited multiple residents. We were told on several occasions by people in our City Council office that this zoning is clearly a mistake and that our neighborhood should not be zoned as R3. This is an inappropriately large project on a very small street. Myra Avenue is only 500 feet long and a little over 24.5 feet wide, with parking for residents on both sides of the street. It is, in essence, a one-lane street. I did some research on what is reasonable minimum size for a residential street, and this is what I learned. For emergency access, 20 feet is commonly accepted as the minimum width for two-way traffic. In addition, 8 feet is necessary for on-street parking. Therefore, 28 feet is widely accepted minimum curb-to-curb street width. I made a copy of the reference article for you to look at if you'd like, with diagrams. Myra needs almost 3.5 feet more to even conform to the widely accepted minimum neighborhood street width, and it should probably be even wider, given that it empties onto the 4-lane Santa Monica Boulevard on one side and heavily trafficked Hoover on the other. By comparison, my street, Manzanita, is 30 feet wide and also empties onto Santa Monica and Hoover, respectively. There are 13 lots on Myra and 3 on Hoover that back up to Myra. According to Zillow, the Myra lots contain 8 single-family homes, 3 duplexes and 2 fourplexes. Let's call this 22 residences. A 27-unit apartment building would more than double the capacity of this small, narrow street. 25 of the 27 apartments in the proposed project are 2-bedroom units, and yet there are only 46 parking spaces since the developer was allowed to reduce the amount of parking by providing bicycle racks. Incidentally, there are no bike lanes on Myra and no room for one. As I've already stated, there's not even the appropriate amount of room for automotive access. I think the residents agree that riding a bicycle on Myra would be quite hazardous. Looking over the proposed plans, I wonder where the guests for these 27 units will park. There are no extra parking spaces being provided for visitors and no available parking on Myra or Hoover. The current residents already have difficulty parking. What about access to emergency services? My fiance is a trauma nurse at LA County USC. Time is of the essence when it comes to saving the lives of our fellow citizens, and the ability to have access to the residents is crucial. I spoke with a fireman who told me that this is a very busy district, and the biggest problem they encounter is not being able to get where they need to be. This project is not by right. Every development has to consider impacts, and no development is an island. The impacts and the mitigation of those impacts must be measured. Obviously, Myra needs a parking and traffic analysis in its present condition before further development can even be considered. I also included a map of all the existing projects that are already going on, and I believe that the impact of those projects should be taken into consideration cumulatively with what this project will impact the neighborhood. I'm not anti-development. This is an inappropriate project for a very small street. This zoning is reflecting old thinking. I'm not sure when this neighborhood was zoned R3. I know the city of Los Angeles is trying to protect these historic neighborhoods. A project of this height and density is completely inconsistent and will stand out like a sore thumb. No zoning is perfect. In this case, it is absolutely flawed. We don't have an infinite number of neighborhoods in Los Angeles whose average age of home is 100 years old. It is never too late to do the right thing and make the right decision. We respectfully request a continuance for more time in order that additional information can be gathered and a proper analysis can be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Mary Farrell, Steve, Lindsay Glover.
Steve Lucero. I've been a resident on Manzanita Street since 1959. I'm not as prepared as I'd like to be, so I'll be brief. I recognize that we have a need, an imminent, immediate need for more housing. Part of the reason we don't have sufficient housing, well, there's many reasons and many people to blame. I think rent control plays a factor in it, but we're here to talk about this particular project and the infrastructure and the density of this project. We were told when they developed the Parkview Hospital property on the corner of Hoover and Santa Monica that they wouldn't further increase the density in that area because of the lack of infrastructure, okay? Carrie brings up a valid point. When you have emergency vehicles trying to come in for any reason, whether it's an earthquake, a fire, medical reason.
Thank you. Lindsay Glover, Myra Rainman. If I've called your name, can you line up so we can be ready to go? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Myra Rainman. Thank you again for taking the time today. I'm not an attorney or a developer. I'm just a concerned neighbor, so I apologize if I don't have all my terminology straight. I've been trying to learn a lot about this in a short amount of time. I think my neighbors have already said so much that there is to say, so I just want to reiterate that I am one of many people in this neighborhood with a family, with children who walk to school every day. Traffic is a real concern for me. It's not just parking, it's traffic. We're doubling the density on that street, and that is more and more cars coming through. It's already has its issues. I also want to say that we are not anti-development. I think I speak for all of us. Those are 3 empty lots right there that should have people living on them. I feel strongly about that. I just believe that it should be a project that is of an appropriate size and scope for the area, and that's something we'd be very supportive of. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Glover. I live in a triplex right next door to the proposed apartment building. Me and my parents are the owners. Myra is a very small street. It is really like a one-way street with limited access. It is limited because, for one thing, it is small, but also because it connects Santa Monica and Hoover diagonally, meaning it runs the shortcut street connecting those 2 streets. This section of Myra is just over 24.5 feet wide. With parking on both sides of the street, it makes for a tight fit right down the middle, allowing for 1 car only. The idea of digging out the hillside to place a 57-foot building spanning 3 lots on the size of on a street of this size is unsafe and unacceptable. The building alone will be more than doubling the density of this street. All of the surrounding neighbors have deep concerns about the size and scope of this project. I know zoning may say that this is okay, but the reality of this project on this small street is not right. It belongs on a bigger street with better access, such as Santa Monica or Sunset. I'm questioning the exemption. As I said before, Myra is a small street. I can't imagine how fire crews or paramedics could adequately serve this street of any kind of emergency. One of the requirements for SECA is...
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more time, Mary Farrell. All right, and Lindsay Glover. Thank you. All right, so from Council District 13, Ms. Craig Bullock.
Good afternoon. My name is Craig Bullock, and I'm with Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell's office. The appeal that we have before us today is in regards to the haul route and not to the actual project. I'm incredibly sympathetic and understanding to the concerns expressed by the appellants and neighbors who aren't even able to make it here today. Unfortunately, the circumstances of this don't allow us to be supportive of the appeal. The Building and Safety Commission approved numerous conditions which were described earlier today, and the office would like to add additional conditions to that which we will provide to the clerk, and that is for the purposes of not allowing parking, staging by members of the construction crew or people visiting the site during the construction period. We would also like to note that we have worked with the developer and with the residents. Unfortunately, it's just such that this is the result of the circumstances of the zoning, and we did introduce a motion looking into these type of situations in both Silver Lake and Echo Park. I'd like to thank you today for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So if there are questions or comments by members, Mr. Englander, Blumenfeld, Price? Hearing none, I'll move that we deny in part and grant in part the appeal and include the conditions requested by Council District 13. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. I believe that completes our business for today and moves us to general public comment. I have 2 cards, one from someone named Mr. John Gold and another from Harry Kim. 1 minute each. Mr. Gold, Mr. Kim, going once, going twice.
I just want to say for the record
No,
that Vince
no,
Bertoni
no.
was
You cannot
here
say
and he
anything.
didn't show
For,
for
no,
his item
please
number 1.
be seated at this moment. Ladies and gentlemen, we're adjourned.